Good morning, and I hope everyone has had a fantastic week. We are almost there, just today and tomorrow, before we get to the weekend. Hopefully, if you have plans over the weekend, it will actually be, less than 100 degrees. But we are continuing in our reflection of Mark, I should say, because that's what I put in the slide. But 6, 7 through 13 and the sending out of the 12 and the instructions Christ let out for them to follow. Now, I think it's actually kind of interesting how this whole thing goes about because just how the other how the um, instructions are very clear. That it's very, this is what I'm telling you to do, and there's something that I actually forgot about. I love reading this because it's like, oh, I forgot about this or whatever. So, if you'll begin with me in verse 7 of chapter 6 and following to 13, I again will be reading from my CSV. That was a loud car. Uh, he summoned the 12 and began to send them out in pairs and gave them authority over unclean spirits. He instructed them to take nothing for the road except a staff, no bread, no traveling bag, no money in their belts, but to wear sandals and not put on an extra shirt. He said to them, whenever you enter a house, stay there until you leave that place. If any place does not welcome you or listen to you when you leave there, shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them. So they went out and preached that people should repent. They drove out many demons, anointed many sick people with oil, and healed them. That's another thing. I read this the other day, prepping for this, and just another thing, caught my eye just now as well. But before I touch that, he summoned them. He began uh, to send them out. I'm assuming this, like it doesn't specifically say in this passage, but like the way that this is going about, it's like uh, he's sending them out and giving them exact instructions of where they are to go and everything. Like you go here, you go here, you go here, which probably maybe how it goes. I don't know. I don't know how the Lord works in sending out His people like that. But one thing that I find very important, I'm not saying anything bad about people that do any type of ministry of any type. I just work at a church, so I just I don't really get sent out like this. But for missionaries and stuff, I'm not saying anything bad about them or anything like that. But what I find interesting is that missionaries in the world today, people that have to go and share the gospel somewhere else, have to do certain things because they need to. They need the money. They need this. They need to have certain things so that they can go over there. It sometimes will take months just to do that. But I love how he's like, uh, he instructed them to take nothing for the road except a staff, no bread, no traveling bag, no money, but to wear sandals and not put on an extra shirt, which I think is just interesting because it's like, don't worry about nothing. I'm going to provide, the Spirit will provide, but just trust me and go and go. So I find that interesting. Um, but before I actually say what I just noticed, we'll go to this and kind of get further into this. Why is it important for Jesus to give the instructions that he did to the 12? Now, I kind of touched on it, but like, why is it important to you? Uh, do we need to really take a look at what he's instructing them and saying, when he says, don't worry about, anything but a staff and, what you have on and a sandal and sandals, I should say. Um, do we need to start doing that? Do we need to start, taking that step and to not worry about it, but to just trust God with it? That is the question. Like, I think we do because a lot of times we're like, oh, I trust the Lord and, whatever. And they don't actually, they're saying it, but they don't follow through with their actions. Is there an importance for them to be put in pairs? I think in a lot of ways there are importance to that because of the fact that, you know, when we work together as believers, we can do so much. We I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. The only thing I could think of for whatever reason is one of my favorite movies. It was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, where Caesar near the beginning of the film is talking to other apes, and he takes a twig, uh, just breaks it easily, breaks it a few times. But when there's a bunch together, he's showing that it's harder to break. Um, that's the best analogy I could think of, and honestly, it's a kind of a good one, in some ways. Why is it important for them to have more, to not have more than what they needed when they left? I kind of touched on that a moment ago, but at the same time, it could be the fact that he didn't want them distracted. He didn't want them to um, worry about X, Y, and Z. Just trust in the Lord, and He will provide. Now, um, okay, lastly, I want to just mention one little thing that I actually just noticed a moment ago. I think it's just interesting. In verse 13, they drove out many demons, anointed many sick people with oil, and healed them. I find that really interesting that, for them, they had to anoint them with oil. But, like, that just shows, the difference between us and, and the Lord, because Christ, all he had to do is say, get up, you're healed. Or, uh, last chapter when we talked about the woman just touching his cloak, she was healed. Or the young girl when he said, little girl, I say to you, get up, and immediately she got up. So uh but it's just fascinating to me and just so encouraging how we learn so much about God and we sometimes forget about how he works. And we don't understand it a lot of times, but it's an incredible um experience just to see it with our own eyes. So that's all I have for the morning. I hope everyone, like I said, is doing well this morning and that we'll have a fantastic rest of y'all's day. Again, if you are keeping up with Mere Christianity, um, we just finished chapter 4 of the first book. The video will be up later today. I meant to do it last night, but I didn't get to that. Um, and again, Second John will be spoken on Sunday. So again, I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope that school, work, and everything goes well. See ya.